Receiving a gift is always nice, and in Pokemon HeartGold and Soulsilver are several gifts to get. I want the most gifts I can, including the starter Pokemon Togepi as an egg and several others. This will be a very interesting Pokemon challenge. Here are the rules. I think the early game is fine, but I want to try something special, and for that I need a lot of preparation. But let's begin. I get a Pokemon for free right at the start of the game, and I choose Totodile. I can make another choice later on, but for the little trick to work, I need Totodile now or a water Pokemon at the next choice I can make. So Totodile it is. At Cherry Grove Town I always received the strongest item in the game, the running shoes. Amazing items. After talking to Mr. Pokemon and receiving the Pokédex from Professor Oak, who just happened to hang out at Mr. Pokemon's place, I get a call from Professor Elm. Someone stole a Pokemon. At least I get them as a gift. On the way to the lab, I came across the first rival battle of the run. Since I already had to run an errand, I destroy this little chikorita, even though I really like this Pokemon as well. When he is done, I talk to Elm and move on to the real challenge of the game. The first battle against youngster Joey, the true final boss of the game. Now, jokes aside, here's the first new Pokemon already. I'm not sure how well known this is, but in Violet City is Primo, who did a show in Fire Red and Leaf Green to teach the player how this game works. But in HeartGold and Soulsilver, he takes some passwords, and if I gave him the correct one, I receive an egg. In total, he gets 3 eggs, but I limit it to 1 this run. I could get Wooper, Slugma or Mareep. Let's find out. The egg finally hatches and it is a mareep. Amazing. Of course I was basically able to choose which one to get, but mareeps are amazing. At the top of Sprout Tower waits Elder Lee. His name is actually a nice pun, because it's elderly. Anyway, his team didn't stand a chance, but this will be an issue throughout the whole run. There are a lot of experience points to get, but the level curve is quite low. They did it this way to allow the player to pick and choose Pokemon whenever one wants to change the team a bit. In the first gen, if you receive a new Pokemon, it is usually so underleveled or needs TMs to actually be useful. That's why they changed it up. At least, that's what I tell myself why they did it. The first gym leader is Faulkner, the flying type specialist. Unfortunately for him, I have a Mareep with Thundershock. The first Pokemon is Pidgey, but 1 Thundershock and it is defeated already. Faulkner's ace, Pidgeotto, is here and I am slower, which is a big problem for Roost. Healing 50% and removing the flying type for the turn, making it very hard to beat. Or Faulkner just doesn't use it and I get a critical hit on top. Faulkner's defeated and I already received my first badge. And not only that, a new member of the team as well. Elm sends me a Pokemon egg, which is very nice of him. Not only 1, but 2 Pokemon. The egg hatches and Togepi appears. I don't think I ever used one before, so this will be fun. I forgot to visit the Elf Ruins. Here's a riddle, which is really hard to solve. But if I use every item in my backpack, I realized it meant to use the escape rope. That opens the door, and inside are some nice items like the Oranberry, which could have been useful against Faulkner. After Union Cave is Azalea Town, the home to the next gym leader, but before I can challenge him, I have to defeat Team Rocket and Slowpoke well. Proton is the leader of this little operation and he has Zubat and Coughing, both poison types, while my Togepi has extra sensory. It's a very strong psychic type attack in the early game, and the damage is quite nice. It takes some turns, but he never stood a chance against the strong Togepi. And defeating him not only rescues the Slowpokes, but also opens the door to the next gym leader. And while preparing for the next major battle, Mareep evolves into Fluffy. It's a very fluffy Pokemon, so it has to be strong. The second gym leader is Bugsy from Azalea Town. He is a bug type specialist. I had multiple tries before, but basically, Scyther's U-turn destroyed everyone in one go. So I had to level up a bit, and here I am. I go first with Fluffy. Any move besides U-turn is fine, and here we are, seeing Leer instead. Thunder Wave is very important to take control over the battle, but Thundershock crit was really nice. Even though the U-turn crit into KO punish was not. I use Totodile now against Metapod. It has a Rock Tomb, a very good move against the bug types. The TM was in Union Cave to help out against this gym leader. Scyther could still be an issue, but it's not. 1 Rock Tomb, while being faster, KOs it with double super effective damage. Last Kakuna doesn't stand a chance anyway and the battle is over. Bugsy is out of Pokemon and the experience were so much that Totodile evolved into Croconaw. That upgrade is actually very welcome right now considering the next battle in the same town. The rival could be very strong and beat me, but unfortunately the Chikorita line is very defensive, making it very hard to sweep a team with it. But anyway, first is Ghastly and I start with Croconaw. One bite is super effective, physical, thanks to the split starting this generation, and Ghastly is gone. Next is Bayleaf and the fun begins. I switch out into Togepi. The reality is, Bayleaf has Reflect and Synthesis, making this battle a real grind. But for me to skip all of that, I use Yawn to put Bayleaf to sleep and then Rock Smash. It can lower defense and I got really lucky with all the defense drops. Just when Bayleaf wakes up again, a new Yawn and then switch back into Croconaw. With the lower defense I can use a lot of Bite, which deals a lot of damage. I just need 3 to beat Bayleaf at this point. Last is Zubat, but Rock Tomb is here to KO in one go, even when the first misses. The rival is done, he is defeated, and that start was quite nice. In Ilex Forest is a very hard puzzle to bring back 2 Farfetch'd, but after I finally got it, I received the HM for Cut. Croconaw can learn it and the way to Goldenrod City is open. Here are some nice items to get. One is a bike, the best way of moving through the world, and after a hard quiz, which I actually failed twice, is the radio add-on for the Poke Gear. This lets Whitney return to her gym, but before I can challenge her, I get the new teammate Spearow from the guard. It's actually not really clear if I should use it or not because I didn't receive it as a gift, just for transport, but I'll take it for now. The second gym leader is Whitney. She specializes in normal types and is most likely the most feared gym leader in all Pokemon games. But maybe she isn't too bad. She starts with Clefairy and I go with Spearow. New to the team and already has the proof it can handle the battles. 2 Aerial Ace and Clefairy is done. Actually a bit too fast for me. Witness Ace Miltank is a completely different beast. I immediately switch into Fluffy. The goal is to get the paralysis on Miltank, but I need 2 because of Lumberry. Of course Stomp crits to KO Fluffy, but Static removed the berry, so maybe I have a chance. Togepi comes in, I want Yawn and want it fast. While Miltank is asleep, I just use Rock Smash until Togepi goes down. The defense drops are amazing for the last 2 Pokemon I have. Or would be if Miltank is paralyzed, but when it wakes up, Togepi goes down. I use Spearow now. It is actually slow and got flinch, which sounds horrible, but Rollout missed, just so Aerial Ace can connect and KO Miltank. Whitney is out of Pokemon and I didn't think it was too bad. I got enough experience so that Spearow leveled up and evolves into Fearow. I actually think Fearow is amazing. Whitney didn't take the loss well and cried a lot, but after some talking to her, I received the badge in the end anyway. Just north of Goldenrod City is the National Park. I really like this place. The bug contest is quite fun, but not necessary for this run. Inside the park is a Quick Claw, TM for Dig, and a Soothe Bell. That item increases friendship, which is absolutely great now, because Togepi can evolve with high enough friendship into Togetic. I actually never used it before, so I'm looking forward to it. After acquiring the Squirtle bottle, I can move north to battle the fake tree. Sudowoodo is an interesting Pokemon, but it is not for free, so I move on to Ecruteak City. In Ecruteak's Pokemon Center is Bill. He does something here, I don't really care about it, but he returns to Goldenrod City and will give me a new Pokemon, but I can't take it yet. The reason will be really great, and I do hope it works out for me, or I will look really stupid. At the Dancing Hall is a Team Rocket guy. His team, or his single coughing, is so weak it's crazy. It's at the same level as Proton's coughing, but he had more Pokemon anyway. Because of this very hard battle, I received the HM for Surf, easily one of the strongest moves in the game. Will be very important for Croconaw. At the Burn Tower is Suicune, but I can't get to it before beating the rival again. He's a bit too much in my way, but let's check how this battle goes. First Ghastly against my Croconaw. Mean Look doesn't matter and Bite easily KOs in one go. Level up grants Ice Fang, one of my favorite moves. and really strong against Bayleaf. I also got lucky that Poison Powder missed 2 Ice Fangs, and it is done. Now comes Magnemite and I realize I don't have any good answer to it. So Croconaw and Surf has to do. Supersonic looks scary, but I just stay in and push forward to the KO. Last is Zubat and I have Ice Fang, so the bet is defeated as well. The rival is done and that means the gym is now open for business, which might be quite interesting. So the next gym leader is Morty in Ecruteak City, specialist of the Ghastly line. This battle is quite interesting because a hard-hitting normal type will win this battle every time. I start with Fearow against Ghastly, 1 Aerial Ace and the first Pokemon is defeated. Next is Haunter and Aerial Ace nearly defeats it on the spot. Hypnosis hits, but Chesto Berry is here to wake Fearow back up. I got the berries by breaking the rocks at the Alph Ruins for shards and trading them in for berries at Violet City. Now comes Gengar and this Pokemon can be very strong, but not against normal types. It only has 1 damaging move and that is Sucker Punch, which I could play around. It's only 5 PPs anyway. But no need, 1 crit and it's over. Last is Haunter and Aerial Ace deals good damage again, but Mean Look doesn't do anything and after healing Haunter back to full, just for Aerial Ace to end it. Morty is defeated and that battle was very nice to do. Fearow gets special experience points, so it outleveled my team quite fast. But finally, the main attraction. There's 1 gift Pokemon in this game, which is very well hidden. Even more so than the eggs from Primo. To receive it, I have to put 2 Pokemon in the daycare first, and then return Fearow to the guy on Route 31 to trade it in for TM Rest. This one stings a bit. Fearow was amazing so far, but there's no other way. After that's done, I have only 1 Pokemon in my team and not a single one in my box. Why is that important? If I travel all the way west to Cianwood City, I can enter the Pokemon Center. And this guy realized I have only 1 Pokemon left and he will gift me 1 Tentacool. Originally it was meant to help players who trapped themselves on Cianwood City, but it's so hard to achieve because of all the guardrails. But here I am, I did it, and Tentacool is now part of the team. While on the island I can grab Shuckle as well, but I'm not too sure how to use it properly in this run yet. After grabbing my Pokemon from the daycare, I can also enter Goldenrod City and find Bill again to receive an Eevee. I could get it a bit earlier, but better late than never. With that done, I travel to Mahogany Town and then north to the Lake of Rage. There's a red Gyarados. Even though it is here on a silver platter, it is not free and I have to beat it. Afterwards I can talk to Lance and he asks me if I'm free to beat up Team Rocket with him. Of course I am. But before I help him, I level up Eevee a bit more and let it evolve into Espeon. I was thinking about whether this or Umbreon, but I feel like the Psychic variant fits quite nicely into the team. Back in Mahogany Town, I can witness how Lance destroys a dude with his Pokemon, using Hyper Beam. That seems quite dangerous. Deep inside is the leader of Team Rocket, Giovanni. Or Petrel. He disguised himself as Giovanni, but doesn't matter, we meet and we fight. I use Espeon against his Zubat and 1 confusion with Choice Specs KOs it. Next is Raticate and it has some nasty moves with Sucker Punch and Crunch, so I switch out into Togetic. The idea was to deal some damage, but Raticate turned out to be stronger than expected and I use Yawn before going down. Espeon back in and I have some turns until Raticate might wake up to most likely defeat me in 1 go, but it never woke up. Last is coughing, but it's weak to confusion as well and goes down quite easily. Petrel is defeated and I use this Murkrow to open up the last door to the generator part of the building. Here's a multi-battle with Lance the Dragon Master himself. The battle itself is very easy, but considering the part as a level 40 Dragonite, it all makes sense. I just used Croconaw and press on Surf until everyone was KO'd. Nothing special to see here. The battle against the Electrodes afterwards were quite a lot harder, but I don't have a ground-type Pokemon to beat them. But it worked out in the end. The generator is shut down and the Lake of Rage is safe again. I wonder why it's called Lake of Rage. If the issue just started a short while ago, but maybe I will never know. In Olivine City is a light tower, and at the top is Jasmine with Amphi, the Ampharos. It is sick and the only medicine which can cure it is on Cianwood City. that's great, because there is the next gym leader, Shuck, the fighting type specialist. I have an espeon and this battle was so lucky I wanted to reset, but let's go with it. First a Primeape, and confusion with choice specs deals a lot of damage, but double team with hyper potion could have been an issue. The next confusion hits, confuses, and Primeape hits itself to KO. That was great, just amazing. Chuck's ace is Poliwrath, and this was even worse. Confusion hits and crits to a nearly KO Poliwrath. Confuses as well, just so that I get another free turn. After healing back full, I hit for a bit with confusion and directly another one, but Surf doesn't KO and I win in the end. That was crazy. Shuck is defeated, but I think I win this battle regardless, considering I have a Tentacool, Croconaw and Fluffy still available, so it's not a big deal. Back in Olivine City, at the top of the light tower, I gave the medicine to Jasmine, because Amphi doesn't take it by anyone else. After that, it is healthy again and Jasmine goes back to the gym. She's a very interesting case of a gym leader. She has a gym, but no one in here to battle against me. The reason is probably that the light tower served the same purpose. But actually, it doesn't matter. I'm here to fight and win. I start with Croconaw against her Magnemite. My Pokemon is faster and digs on the ground. That TM is really strong now, one-shotting Magnemite just like that. Next is another one and I go for Dig again. I assume one Thunderbolt would easily KO me, so better not get hit in the first place. Jasmine's ace Steelix is very strong and quite a few levels over me, but Surf does nearly half, while Sandstorm is just burning through some turns. The next Surf nearly KOs, and fortunately Citrus Berry is here to help me, pushing Steelix just barely out of range of the Hyper Potion. So another water move and Steelix is defeated. Jasmine is out of Pokemon and it was way easier than I first thought it would be, but that's fine. Nothing between Jasmine and Pryce, because I already did all the side quests. He's the gym leader in Mahogany Town and specializes in ice types. I got the TM for Thunder from the Goldenrod department store, and let's see how far Fluffy can take it. First is Seal, and one Thunder with choice specs destroys Seal in one hit. Next is Pryce's ace Piloswine, and I switch into Togetic to negate the Mud Bomb. But before I'm able to move, one Ice Fang KOs my flying type as expected. I use Croconaw next and go for Surf, which does decent damage, but it's a bad range while Hail is set up. Another Surf hits deep into the yellow to use the Citrus Berry, but Mud Bomb hits and crits of course. What else could happen? I went for another Surf, but missed due to Hail and Snow Cloak. What is going on? Croconaw goes down and that is horrible. Tentacool is next, but there's little hope. One Surf does a bit of damage while Mud Bomb nearly KOs. Hyper Potion fills it back up and Surf does a good chunk while another puts it into the yellow and Tentacool goes down. I choose Espeon next for confusion while Blizzard missed. That is actually very good for me. Piloswine goes down next turn. Last is Dewgong and this can be quite dangerous. I need an opening for Fluffy, but can't see it until confusion hits and confuses. Dewgong hits itself like a champ and snaps out in the last second before going down. While sleeping I switch into Fluffy just to get hit by Aurora Beam thanks to Sleep Talk. That is very bad, but I have to try now anyway. Sleep Talk hits rest, doing nothing, and Thunder connects to KO Dewgong from full HP. Pryce is out of Pokemon and there's only one more badge to get. But before I can do it, I get a call from Professor Elm asking me to check out the radio station because Team Rocket is doing some nasty stuff again. The radio tower is overrun by Team Rocket. So I search for the radio tower director. I find him in office, but he looks a bit different. Oh no, it's Petrel again. Let's battle him. I feel like this battle is very one-dimensional. Only 5 coughings and 1 wheezing. I have Espeon with choice specs and enough confusion PPs to KO everyone. Wheezing survived one and Sludge looked quite dangerous, but it worked out fine. Unfortunately, Psybeam is way later, so Espeon has to rely on confusion for a long time. Petrel didn't stand a chance and goes down in the end. But he was so nice to tell me the real director is in the underground path. So that's my next destination and I hope nobody stands in the way. Well, he is arriving in the underground. He ambushed me, but this is no big deal. Espeon was in front anyway. First Golbat and Confusion nearly KOs in one go. I can't wait to get Psybeam. Confuse Ray can be annoying, but I got very lucky hitting anyway. Next is Haunter and I just stayed in, possibly the worst option, but I hit anyway to KO. Shadowman might have KO'd me. Now comes Sneasel and the fun begins. Switching into Shuckle. To be honest, I only use it for a free switch out, because I'm actually not sure what to do with this Pokemon, so it's really hard to use. But after some turns, it goes down, letting me use Fluffy now. The only goal I have is using Thunder Wave, which I barely did, and then Thunder Shock for some pitiful damage. That was bad. Afterwards, I can use Tentacool now using Toxic Spikes. Thanks to the paralyzed Sneasel, I can use another, but it wasn't necessary to win, I believe. One feint attack easily removes my Tentacool from full HP. Tentacool comes in now because I have Rock Smash. That is actually my strongest fighting type move at the moment. I could have Drain Punch, but Rock Smash is an HM, so I can remove it. The rival uses Magnemite next and I stay in to use Yawn, believing to get some nice turns, but paralyzed is really bad. I switch into Espeon in fear of Spark, but Supersonic hits. Okay, so I switch again into Croconaw to use Dig for the KO. Switching into Espeon was actually not a smart move because Spark can paralyze and synchronize would override the sleep. Last is Meganium, and here's Toxic Spikes to make the battle doable. It is faster and leaves Storm KOs from full. I use Togetic next, even though it is paralyzed. The idea is to use Fly for the poison turns, but paralysis makes it really hard for me to do anything. Leaf Storm confuses, giving me some free turns as well. It takes a while, but Meganium goes down to the poison. The rival is defeated, and the ambush failed, which is actually pretty nice. I need a lot more power for future encounters. Some battles are really tough now. After talking to the real director, I get the keycard to enter the last part of the radio tower, confronting Team Rocket once and for all. Proton is the first executive to beat. I was a bit confused, because he's the first major battle to not outlevel me by a lot anymore. That's nice. Golbat doesn't stand a chance, and Weezing is also quite weak against Espeon, not a lot to talk about. The next executive is Ariana. She's a lot stronger than Proton, it's not even close. I wonder why Proton is so weak comparatively. I can't think of a reason. Anyway, she starts with Arbok against Espeon. Confusion does a lot of damage but doesn't KO. Getting hit by Clair is really bad, and right afterwards Crunch brings Espeon into KO range. But at the last opportunity, Espeon hits and KOs Arbok. Next is Murkrow, and I wanted to switch out, but the bird doesn't want me to and hit Pursuit. That was really rude. I have Fluffy now, and first Thunder missed, but the second one hits to KO. The damage is important, because last is Vileplume, Fluffy is slower and goes down before hitting Thunder Wave. I have Togetic ready for battle, but Sleep Powder will stall quite a few turns. Not the first one, that was only one turn, really bad for Ariana to be honest. Fly nearly KOs, and I just have to connect with one more move, but Vileplume doesn't let me. Resistance is futile, and extrasensory hits to KO the big flower. Ariana is defeated, and there's only one Team Rocket executive left in this Radio Tower arc. But this battle granted enough experience to finally let Croconaw evolve into Feraligatr. That is perhaps the best evolution I can get this run. Just behind Espeon maybe. The final executive is on the top floor of Radio Tower. He is Archer, and his goal was to call Giovanni and let him know that he can return to Team Rocket. But I think he got destroyed way too many times by little kids that he is just embarrassed. Anyway, I got Feraligatr now, and I gave it the choice specs. All that's left to do is spam surf and hope Houndoom does not crit or flinch my Feraligatr. The battle should be smooth sailing. Houndour is quite weak, and Coughing never stood a chance anyway. Archer is defeated, and that concludes the Radio Tower arc and effectively Team Rocket. Sad to see the most iconic villain team finally disband, but sometimes you just have to cut your losses and quit. But not for me, there's one more badge to get. Before I get to the ice path, Tentacool evolves into Tentacruel. I really like this Pokemon and use it a couple of times and will probably be one of my strongest Pokemon going forward. The ice path is pretty easy, if it wasn't for those ice puzzles. How did this work again? Right at the end of the tunnel, Fluffy evolves into Ampharos. This was one of my favorite Pokemon back in the day, and I hope it works out in this run as well. The last gym leader in Blackthorn City is in my opinion the hardest gym battle in the entire game, even more so than Whitney. I took a long time to figure out the strategy, but here it goes. First is Gyarados, and I go with Tentacruel. Thanks to Choice Scarf, I'm faster than Gyarados and can layer out Toxic Spikes. Unfortunately, it is also locked into that one move and goes down without doing any damage to Gyarados. Ampharos shows next, but it is slower, takes a big hit, and KOs with discharge in return. Next is Dragonair, and I need a clean switch, so I use Shuckle now. That's the best I can come up with it, and after it went down, I use Feraligatr now. First Protect to let Poison stack another, and then go for Ice Fang to KO, or just barely not, but a flinch helps a lot. Now comes the second Dragonair, and I go for Ice Fang again, but Dragonair survives to use Thunder Wave at me, but Cherry Berry heals it again, just so that I miss with Ice Fang and let Dragonair go down into healing range. This is horrible, just the worst thing that could have happened, but Toxic stacked up so high it KOs Dragonair. They have shed skin, so I got very lucky. Last is Clair's Ace Kingdra, and I go for the very cheap tactic to switch Protect and a damaging move for the HP loss thanks to Poison. But the last Protect needed wasn't happening due to paralysis, and that is very awkward now. I have a plan, using first Togetic and then immediately switch into Espeon. That sounds stupid. Because it is. Espeon is actually slower and loses to Kingdra in the exact moment where Kingdra goes into full restore range. That was so bad, why did I do that? Togetic back in and using Yawn because full restore was used, and then switching out into Ampharos to deal damage. Smoke Screen could be an issue, but there's nothing I can do. First discharge and slightly below half. Second discharge, maybe it is more like a third of HP, and then the final discharge while Kingdra is still asleep to KO. Clair's out of Pokemon, and I was so happy to finally win, even though I made a big mistake. Clair won't give me the last badge because she's a sore loser, just like me. So I talked to the manager and received the badge just like that. That was quite easy. I returned later and they even have a gift for me because I had to go through all of this. It's a Dratini. It's a very strong, but thanks to the level curve in this game, I won't have the full powered version until way later on. Before I can move on to the Elite Four, Professor M wants to talk to me, giving me the Master Ball. I actually don't need it in this run, but he tells me to find the Kimono Girls, so I continue chasing through a Johto. Before battling them, I let Dratini evolve into Dragonair, so I bring it up to speed. At Acrotique City are the Kimono Girls. The battle is quite hard, but after a few tries I beat them, and that battle seemed to be so intense, the Whirl Islands were rumbling through a Johto, so let's explore. Deep underneath the Whirl Islands is a place where the Kimono Girls are able to summon the legendary Pokemon Lugia. Is it basically free? I also have the Master Ball, so it's technically a gift Pokemon? No, not really, I just flee and move on to the Elite Four. And right before I can enter the Elite Four, I have to deal with the rival once again, battling him for one last time. He starts with Sneasel and I go with Feraligatr. Waterfall does a good amount of damage, and right afterwards I use the wrong move. I wanted to do Earthquake, but used Ice Fang. It's fine, Sneasel goes down regardless. Next is Meganium, and I switch out into Togetic. It resists grass type attacks and has Yawn. So I use Yawn and then went for Extrasensory while I wanted to use Fly. Right after Meganium falls asleep, the rival switches into Magneton now, which actually means the Togetic will go down. I have no choice in the matter. I bring Feraligatr back in and use one Earthquake to defeat the Steel Electric type. Meganium is used again, but it is asleep and I went for Ice Fang, but it actually critical hits for the KO, but I think it's fine because of sleep. Next is Haunter and I'm faster, using Crunch to KO in one go. Against Kadabra I switch into Waterfall because it could use Disable, even though Reflect is a bit worse, but I can KO with Earthquake while trying to dodge Disable again. Last is Golbat, and I think the battle is actually about to be done, using Ice Fang for some damage and then another one, but Feraligatr goes down. It was a bit too much damage. Ampharos in, I just need one damage by Confuse Spray and hitting itself. Golbat then spams Bite to let Ampharos never hit, and it actually works right until Static popped up to make Golbat slower now, and Ampharos is finally able to deliver the finishing blow. The rival is defeated, and that's it. That's all I had left to do for the Elite Four. I leveled everyone up to level 40. That is actually the lowest level Will has, and I still believe the champion is not doable. But maybe I'm wrong and it's not that bad. But let's begin. The first Elite Four member is Will, the Psychic type specialist. My team overall is quite good against his, so it should not be a big deal. First is Xatu against Ampharos. I want to use Discharge, but me first is used, which can be annoying, but I didn't get paralyzed. And Xatu goes down to a single attack. Next is Jinx and I stay in to deal as much damage as possible. When half of the HP was removed, I was quite happy, but the second one leaves Jinx with about 1 HP. So I switch out into Espeon while full restore is used to use Shadow Ball. Combined with choice specs, this is a lot of damage, defeating Jinx in one hit. Now comes a big Xatu, but I'm faster and just KO from full HP again. That's actually quite nice. Executor seems a bit more dangerous, but Shadow Ball defeats it in one go as well. Last is Slowbro, and this was a bit sad. Shadow Ball does not KO but drops special defense in the exact turn where Slowbro used Amnesia to boost special defense. That is really unfortunate for Will. Only 2 more Shadow Balls and the last Pokemon is defeated. Will is out of Pokemon and the first Elite Four member is done. The next one is Koga. He was promoted from top 8 best Kanto gym leader to top 4 Elite Four members. That is very impressive. First is Ariados and I go with Espeon. I am faster and a Psybeam easily KOs. Next is Fortress and I switch out into Feraligatr. This will take a while because of Protect, but Fortress managed to lay down 2 layers of toxic spikes before going down. Now comes Muk and this could easily go wrong. Earthquake hits, but just barely doesn't KO while Minimize was used. That is really bad. I want to first with Waterfall and then Earthquake to not get into another full restore, but the Minimize took a turn before I get the KO and Toxic never hits. Koga's new ace Crobat is here. I realize he discarded his whole team from the earlier games. Very sad to see actually. Double team could be an issue, but it never was, and Crobat goes down after 2 Ice Fang and a Waterfall. Last is Venomoth and I thought Earthquake easily KOs, but it does about half and Psychic hits back to KO Feraligatr. I use Espeon again, press on Psybeam and the Bug Poison type is defeated. Koga is defeated and I have only 2 more Elite Four members left to do. I don't know how, but Bruno is still an Elite Four member. He changed his team just a little bit, but it doesn't really matter against Espeon with Psybeam and choice specs. I have the experience chair on the Feraligatr because I think it will be the most important Pokemon by far for the champion. I hope it works out. Oh, about Bruno. Nobody survives the hit besides Machamp, and that one can KO Espeon in one go, so it's already over. Bruno's defeated and let's focus on the next one. The last Elite Four member is Karen. What you see is what you get. She specializes in dark types, but after seeing the team, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Little fun fact, the Japanese name for the dark type translates roughly to evil, so maybe that explains the team. Anyway, first is Umbreon and I start with Feraligatr. The goal is to hit Umbreon very hard and try to skip the full restore turn, which did work out, and 1 flinch on top, I love to see it. Next is Vileplume. It is not a dark type but has a Vile in its name, so maybe it's evil, I don't know. Togetic can tank a lot of hits, while the back and forth takes some time. Full restore was used here, which is a bit sad. After Togetic goes down, I use Espeon to finish Vileplume off. Next is Gengar, and I don't understand how you can use Gengar against Espeon and then press on Focus Blast, but it's okay, I take it. Now comes Murkrow and I have to switch out into Feraligatr, hoping to KO it in 2 hits, which worked out, but I took a lot of damage. One was even a crit. Last is Karen's ace Houndoom, and I know Feraligatr can 1-hit KO it, but I'm too slow and too low in HP. So Ampharos has to paralyze it somehow, but the damage was so high it went down immediately, but it triggered static, so Feraligatr can come back in to use 1 Waterfall to beat Houndoom from full HP. Karen is defeated, the Elite Four is done, only 1 battle against the champion is left to do. This battle was really hard to do, and I actually found a strategy, but it's very technical. Lance is a flying type specialist and final battle of the Elite Four Battle Gauntlet Challenge. First is Gyarados and I go with Ampharos. Thanks to the Choice Scarf I am faster and 1-hit KO with Discharge. Now comes a big Dragonite and I am still faster, hitting with Discharge for some damage before Dragonite's Outrage destroys Ampharos maybe twice over. I use Feraligatr now. It is naturally faster and has the Never Melt Ice equipped, just so that Ice Fang barely KOs from that point. Another Dragonite comes out and this one has Thunder, so I switch into Dragonair to tank it and use Extreme Speed to put a little dent into Dragonite's HP. That is already enough for Feraligatr to KO with Ice Fang just barely. I don't know the numbers, but I can imagine it's on the dot. The last Dragonite is here and I switch into Espeon because Thunder Wave is most likely used and Synchronize sends it right back to the Flying Dragon. With both paralyzed, Espeon is fast and can hit with Psybeam. I still have choice specs on it, so I can switch into a different move, which is most likely a mistake on my end, but it will work out just fine. Well, not after full restore. One paralysis at this point could have ended the run on the spot, but some damage sticks before Espeon goes down. I have Feraligatr come back in to use one Ice Fang to KO the last Dragonite. But Lance's Aerodactyl can be really bad for me. If Thunder Fang let Feraligatr flinch, the battle is lost. Fortunately, it worked out and Waterfall wanted KOs. Last is Charizard and I have to switch out into Tentacool. I need just a little tiny bit of damage, but Air Slash lets Tentacool flinch and I was panicking. How can I still win? Tentacool goes down and I use Togetic next. I wanted some damage and desperately pressed on extra sensory, even though Yawn would always be the better move here. Togetic hits and goes down the turn after, just for Feraligatr to come back in and deliver the finishing blow with one Waterfall. Charizard is defeated, Lance is out of Pokemon and the Elite Four is done. I am now the new champion of the Indigo League. But before I stop here, there's another challenge waiting for me. I talked to Professor M on how to beat up the Kanto part of the game and he gave me the ticket for the boat to reach it. Back in Olivine City, just hopping on it, and my journey through Kanto can officially begin. I usually open up all the cities first, but decided against it midway and start with Janine, the daughter of Koga. Her team is basically Koga's team with less issues. Espeon with Choice Spec should easily handle it. I have the TM for Psychic, but didn't feel like using it on Espeon at first. Seeing Crobat surviving Psybeam maybe changed my mind just a little bit. Doesn't really matter in the end, Espeon plows through the whole team like it's nothing, even though I'm vastly underleveled here. The first gym leader of Kanto is defeated, and I move back to Vermilion City. The gym leader in Vermilion City is still Lieutenant Surge and his team is actually not that great. If I had a ground type, he would have only 1 or 2 moves to actually hit me. But I use Feraligatr, equip the Choice Scarf to increase the speed, and just press on Earthquake in total of 5 times to beat him. Lieutenant Surge never stood a chance, and this time was no different. I want to make a little detour and start the power plant side story. First talking to the power plant manager, someone stole parts of the generator and it seems like the thief went to Cerulean City. Arriving here, I find him in the Pokemon gym and after chasing him on the Nugget Bridge, he told me that the parts of the generator are still in the gym. So back there I get the parts and bring them back to the manager who finally restores the power for Kanto. So with that out of my way, I can check out more gyms to battle. In Celadon City is Erika, the grass-type gym leader. She is one of the only real teams based on a strategy, using Sunny Day and then Solar Beam or Synthesis. But unfortunately I just brute force it and use Tentacool, with Sludge Bomb and a nice pair of choice specs. The TM for Sludge Bomb is available after dealing with Team Rocket in Mahogany Town, but I simply forgot to get it. It's the single best poison type attack you can get for special attacker, which I consider Tentacool to be. Only against Victory Bell, I switch out into Togetic and try to beat it that way. It works kind of, but it's fine. I have so many counters against Erika it doesn't really matter. Only after Victory Bell, Tentacool can come back in and continue beating Erika's team. When she's defeated, I get a new badge and can move on to the next gym. Sabrina is usually either very hard to beat or quite easy. This time, it was on the easier side of things. Choice Scarf makes a lot of battles doable. Feraligatr has a very high attack and with Crunch, a super effective one as well. But every single Pokemon actually survived at least one hit, but they didn't really hit back that hard, so I could plow through the team. But I think that my team would have won either way, just not that one-sided. Anyway, she's defeated and I have a nice date now. At the end of Nugget Bridge, right after Bill's house, is a nice and romantic spot. And here's Misty, the next gym leader to beat. I don't think she will ever forgive me for that little stunt, but I don't care. The battle against Misty wasn't so easy as I first expected. The idea was to use Ampharos and deal as much damage as possible. I tried Choice Scarf first, but the damage wasn't enough, so I switched to Choice Specs instead. Against Quagsire I can't use Ampharos, it's not possible. So I switch out into Togetic to negate Earthquake and use Yawn just to switch into Feraligatr next. Because of Amnesia, I can't use Giga Drain on Tentacool, so it has to be done physically. But Quagsire goes down quite easily in the end, leaving Lapras and Starmie. Lapras can survive a discharge, so so some damage first to then get KO'd afterwards. And against Starmie, I can either tank a hit and KO back or use Tentacool since Starmie can't hit it at least neutral. So the battle is basically over at that point. Misty is defeated and that's all gyms on the east side of Kanto. Before I can challenge the last gym leaders, I get the radio expansion DLC package that allows me to use the radio inside Kanto. Right in front of the tunnel is a huge Snorlax. When I change the radio to the Pokeflute, I can wake it up and it wants to battle. I have the TM Thief on Tentacool to steal the leftovers. That made it really angry to use Giga Impact and destroys Tentacool on the spot. Well anyway, thank you Snorlax, but that's all I needed. The first gym on the west side of Kanto is Brock. I have a Tentacool, it can learn Giga Drain, and Choice Specs is my personal all-time favorite item, at least in this run, and I beat up every one of his Pokemon in one hit. The Rock Slide of Kabutops can let my Pokemon flinch, and that will mean I had to use another Pokemon, but thankfully that never happened. And Brock is out of Pokemon quite fast, only 2 more to go. Unfortunately, Cinnabar Island had a bad time, and neither the Pokemon Mansion nor the laboratory exists anymore. But the real unfortunate thing is, the gym still exists on Seafoam Island. This was maybe the hardest Blaine battle I ever had. The first 2 Pokemon are no problem, just 1 waterfall each to KO. But Magmar has Flame Body and can burn on contact, and that was exactly what happened. Burn does not only deal damage each turn, but also reduces physical attack. That way, Feraligatr isn't able to KO Rapidash anymore, and that spiraled a bit out of control using multiple Pokemon. Important to switch into the electric type against Bounce, but other than that, it's just a battle of attrition. Burning through all the full restores and then finish the horse off with Dragonair's extreme speed. Blaine is defeated and there's only 1 gym left to do, which is most likely the hardest gym by far. The last gym leader of the run is Blue, the rival from Fire Red and Leaf Green. His team is very similar to the champions team before, so let's see how far I can go. First up is Executor, and I go with a Pharos. I do have Signal Beam, a bug type attack being double, super effective and KO on the spot. Next is Rhydon and I switch into Togetic, negating Earthquake, but then misclick on Exosensory instead of Water Pulse. I hope this still works out when it goes down. Tentacool in and using Surf, thankfully it KOs from that point. Now comes Machamp and I stay in to deal some damage, which will be very important for Espeon using Psychic to KO Machamp. It wouldn't without Tentacool's help. Against Arcanine I can't do anything, just seeing Flare Blitz and burn to ashes. But I use Feraligatr next and hope I can KO with Waterfall. It doesn't. Arcanine is so nice and helps a bit with another Flare Blitz. Thanks buddy. Pidgeot is Blue's ace and Feraligatr already did its job, so I just press on some damaging moves to bring it into range for my next Pokemon. But Pidgeot stumbles really bad and actually goes down against Feraligatr. I never would have expected that. Last Gyarados and I get a crunch off, but go down immediately. I choose Ampharos to come back in and one discharge easily KOs Gyarados. That's it. Blue's out of Pokemon and I get my final badge. It's the last badge of the run. That means there's only one thing left to do. Well actually, it's more than one thing. I have to get the HM for Rock Climb from Professor Oak first. I use it in a national park to reach this item, the Shiny Stone. I can use it to evolve Togetic to Togekiss. Not sure if it plays a big role in the final battle, but at least it is at full power. And while preparing, Dragonair finally reaches a high enough level to evolve into Dragonite. I had one before, but Dragonites are something really special. I'm at the finish line, only one battle left to do, and it is the hardest battle, by far, in any Pokemon game. I think I'm prepared, at least as much as I can. And here he is, Red, the real champion of Kanto, the final challenge. He starts with Pikachu, and I start with Feraligatr. I am faster with Choice Scarf and use Earthquake to KO it on the spot. Now comes Venusaur and that is perfect. I can switch into Dragonite. Sleep Powder looks dangerous, but Chesterberry is here to help. I use Sandstorm to basically remove the hail. That way Blizzard doesn't have a 100% hit rate anymore. After that's done, I switch into Tentacool. Sludge Bomb doesn't deal a lot, and I can start using Toxic Spikes to make everyone after Venusaur poisoned upon entering the battle. Sleep Powder again and I switch into Togekiss. Air Slash deals good damage, but another Sleep Powder? Are you kidding me? That sleep was actually so bad, Togekiss never woke up. Didn't seem to do a whole lot here, but it was enough. Espeon comes in and uses one Psychic to finally finish Venusaur off. The next Pokemon is Snorlax and I have to switch out into Tentacool. The idea was to stall for some poison ticks, but it didn't work out. I used Feraligatr again and it has superpower to deal an insane amount of damage or actually KO with a critical hit. I didn't expect that. Next is Lapras and it is immediately poisoned while Feraligatr uses another superpower. It deals good damage and Feraligatr still lives, so I switch into Dragonite, but Psychic was used and actually KOs. That is not how I planned this battle. Feraligatr back in with fresh new attack. I can use one superpower to beat Lapras now. Only 2 more Pokemon. Blastoise is next. And I just crash into it with superpower to deal some damage before going down. Ampharos has to manage now and Blizzard missed. That thanks to Dragonite and Discharge hits and KOs with a critical hit. I take that. Last Pokemon off the run is Charizard. And before I'm able to move, Flare Blitz hits for an insane amount of damage, while Discharge just barely doesn't KO. Why not Thunderbolt? Like for real, why not? Full Restore and another Discharge to push it back into the yellow, just so that Flare Blitz gets Ampharos down to 0. My last Pokemon is Espeon. This is it. Full Restore while Psychic does over half and the turn afterwards, another one to finally finish Charizard off. The battle is over. Red is defeated and I am the new champion with only gifted Pokemon. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions or advice, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching and I see you in the next one.